Now here's a 2 system that is not sealed. Now things can get in there. I do not worry about it. Let's see what's in here. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I'm on my deck garden right now. My terrace, as you want to call it. And today I'm only going to talk about one thing. We're going to talk a little bit about 2 system setups. And I'm going to show you 2 different setups on my deck here than the video I put up. But they're all doing the same thing. And why do I want it? Look at the plants when you have a 2 system setup. I have been pulling off tons of zucchini on this. Look at this. Now this is a smaller tote. This isn't even as big as some of the other totes. So it's a shallower tote and it's smaller. But look at this. I've got more zucchini through there. I've got more zucchini on the other side here. It's all through here. Everywhere you look, it's full of zucchini. See all the zucchini in there? Now, why can a plant get so big like this and yet be in a small container? See, there's more even down here. Look at that. Because of the 2 system. This is really what's driving this plant. This is being fed constantly by what's going on in here. Now this is kitchen scraps, leftover leaves that I pick, everything goes in there, and then this sits on top. This one is not tight like a bucket. The other one I showed you in the other video, go check it out. The buckets are tight, so you're not going to get a lot of anything in there except for microbes, and you might get the occasional fruit flies in there, but you probably won't get soldier flies. They won't be able to fit in there. They're a good size fly, and they need more space to get in and out of things. But here I don't care. This is to keep out rodents. I don't want rodents in there, and they can't get in. So they're not going to bother. They're not going to hang around trying to lift a pot off. See how this one is not sealed? There's a big rim there. I'm using a small flower pot. Well, it's not small, but smaller than the one on the bottom. Now things can get in there. I do not worry about it. I mean, look at this plant. You've seen some of the zucchini I've pulled off. So let's see what's in here. Oh my goodness. And you know what that is? Those are soldier flies. That's the larva. We've got all kinds of different larvae in there. Well, probably mainly soldier flies. And of course there's going to be earthworms and other things in there as well. They're doing the same exact thing the earthworms would be. See, there's a little fruit fly leaving, which means there's probably fruit fly larvae in there. Oh, yes, there is. And there's some eggs. You know, if I can get you in there, see the eggs. They're just starting to hatch. See right there by my finger? So the soldier fly comes in here, and she lays her eggs. And then they end up with little tiny larvae. And what they're doing is they're feeding in here. Now, they're going to be gone soon. The ones that survive are going to pupate, turn into little cocoons, and then hatch and fly away. But they're doing the same thing earthworms do. They're not bothering anything. They are most certainly not hurting my plant. Even if your regular houseflies got in there and you had some white maggots in there, they're never going to hurt your plant. They are not interested in your plant. They're interested in the breaking down food matter. That is all they want. Let's grab some more leaf matter. Throw leaf matter, kitchen scraps, whatever I want, and then I just put the pot back. I water the pot, which in turn waters my zucchini. Now keep this in mind. Zucchini are heavy feeders. Look at the size of the plant. They feed a lot. They need a lot of food. So if you don't give them plant food in one manner or another, whether it's organic matter that you're throwing in, or maybe you're going to buy plant food, they will peter out on you is what it is. You'll start to get fruit, and then all of a sudden you won't get any more fruit. So if you want to continue to get all that fruit, you're going to have to figure out some way to do that. Now there's a few other things that happen. This is leaf miner. See where he's going through? I don't worry about that. And this leaf is about ready to come off anyways. I could reach down inside and just take it off. It can't live without the leaf. You can either throw it away or you can compost it. You get a few here and there. You can always trim off some of the leaves that are getting yellow, or I should say if they have spots that are brown, you can trim them off. But once they start to turn yellow, they're not going to turn green again. You have to make sure that the leaf is not feeding any squash. So if I look down there and see no squash around the leaf, then I know it's safe to take off. But here's the thing with squash, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. It's important to feed them. You have to give them some sort of food. And the food I give is food from my garden. Any leaves that are going brown, anything that didn't grow right, goes in there. Even if you find the squash or some flowers, anything you pull off can go into your 2 system, and it's going to continue to feed. Let's walk over here. That is a 2 system. You go, wait a minute. It's a cottage cheese container. It's a sour cream container with a large cottage cheese container. And in here, I do the same thing. And it is full of little worms. I have little tiny earthworms in there. All I have to do is water my lettuce that's on top, and it's going to feed this plant. It doesn't matter the size. What matters is that the plant is getting some sort of food source to it. That's all you have to remember, is to give its food source. Now these right now don't have any food source. There are 2 of them in there, and I'm going to have to put a 2 system in there. This is just a mint plant sitting there. And the mint is not attached, so it's not feeding off of this small tote. But if I put a 2 system there, these 2 squash will just take off. And they'll grow so much better than they're doing right now. Just like this one just took off because of this little tiny 2 system. Now I'll show you here. This is a larger container. See the difference? See how the one is taller than the other? Okay, so I got a larger container with holes on the bottom, and I made a hole. Look at the roots. The roots are saying, gimme, gimme more. And I pushed it halfway down. Then I took this sour cream container, doesn't matter what food container you use, that is shorter, so it doesn't sit all the way down. And this has got holes on it too. So you need to have holes in there, a bunch of holes, and a bunch of holes here. You can put them on the bottom. This is not sitting on the bottom. If it was sitting on the bottom, I'd put holes around, I would put holes around the bottom here. I'm trying to do this one-handed, but bear with me. I would put holes here, all the way around here. But since it's not sitting all the way on the bottom, you can see, I can put the holes on the bottom. Then I have holes on the bottom here. I put this here, and look at my lettuce. Now my lettuce, this little lettuce I just put in here, is benefiting by what's underneath, because things move with nature up and down. So that little lettuce has just taken off, and this squash plant is doing fantastic. And somebody's going to ask me, what is this? This is nothing. This is just another way of mulching your soil on top. I had nothing. I had the tray, and I laid it on top. This is going to hold moisture underneath for now for my zucchini plant that's there. But as far as a 2 system, you can make it any size you want. You have a little tiny container? Do it with food containers. I wouldn't go as small as a yogurt. They might be a little too small. You want something where your little earthworms can get in there and they can live pretty good. I know they're in there. I saw them. And I've got leaves and little tiny kitchen scraps go in there, and they'll bury themselves right to the bottom right away. Oh, see, they're even in there. And there's a roly-poly in there too. But see the earthworm right there? They travel back and forth. If you bother them, they leave that container and go down inside, and when I come back later, they'll be back in the container. So try to get a 2 system if you think especially your squash are slowing down, or they got this to this massive size and they're not throwing fruit. Well, they are a very fast growing squash plant is what they are. Zucchini is a squash. Now a lot of your squash vine, so they can store a lot of water in the long vines that they produce. Zucchini, on the other hand, well, they don't store all that water. They need all that water daily because they have a small trunk on the bottom that is slowly, I call it, unwinding as they produce leaves and flowers and leaves and flowers. That's why it's very important to make sure that they don't dry out and they have a lot of water. The other thing, like I've been telling you here and talking about, is they need a lot of food because they're quick producing plants. And if you can remember to keep food coming to them and water somehow to keep your container, your ground, wherever you got them growing, damp, you should produce a lot of zucchinis from them. A lot of times they will produce only male flowers in the beginning because they know the conditions aren't right. It could be pollinators, it could be food. Something is not right, so they're not producing the female flowers. Now the female flowers, as you know, have the little tiny fruit. It takes more energy out of the plant to produce the female flowers. So get something in there, even if it's burying some food scraps in an area and put a pot on top. The reason you may not want to just dig a hole and throw kitchen scraps in, which you can if you have no critters around, that is the reason you wouldn't do it. If you've got no critters, dig your heart out. Go ahead, dig a hole, put some kitchen scraps, leaves in the container or the ground, wherever you've got them growing, and cover it up. But if you've got any type of critters, that's when you want to put a flower pot on top. And that's why I do the 2 system with the plant on top. The plant growing on top deters other things from coming around. All they see is a plant and 2 flower pots. They don't know any leaf. So I'm trying to create a constant food source for my zucchini so I can continue to grow zucchini until the winter comes and they slow down and stop. And then, well, I'm freezing mine and I'm going to have plenty of zucchini this year. So I hope I gave you some ideas on why maybe some of you are not getting as much zucchini on your plant as you'd like. Just get more plant food in there. Make sure they're not running out of water. Get a flower pot in there. Layering is fantastic because mulching is wonderful. You have to mulch to keep the ground from being completely bare so it won't dry out. But if you layer, then the flower pot and the container you're putting there, whatever you're putting on top of the soil, does not allow the water to evaporate that quick. And that is what helps your zucchini grow more fruit. Remember, they need food and they need tons of water compared to a lot of other plants. So I hope I've given you an idea on how to grow zucchini and produce a lot of fruit. I have even grown them in a 5-gallon bucket here. A massive plant because the whole bucket underneath was loaded with leaves and stuff, and then a little potting soil on the top. And I was growing tons of zucchini in a little 5-gallon bucket. So size doesn't matter. What matters is the amount of food and water. With that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.